Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
You're listening to Creative Voice Radio with Gwen Fox. Discover the creative genius within. If your inner critic is standing in the way of your creativity, listen up. Sharing your vision is a scary thing to do. Gwen Fox is here to inspire artists to believe in themselves and their creative abilities. Wherever you are on your artistic journey, Gwen wants you to know that it's spiritual too. Dive deep and reach high as we pull together the threads of spirituality and artistic expression to empower you to share your vision with the world. You are unique, and only you can express your vision. So stop comparing and start creating. Feed your creative spirit and free your creative genius with Creative Voice Radio now.
Everybody, I am here with the most amazing Gwen Fox, and this is Creative Voice Radio. I'm Dr. Pat. Today's show is all about dreams, but dreams that come to fruition, that we bring to reality. For those of you out there, let me just tell you a little bit about Gwen, because she is somebody that absolutely knows what it means to have creative expression. All you need to do is look at her artwork, the work that she does to help others, the workshops she runs throughout the United States and Canada. And it is with the intention and the vision to help students tap into their inner strength as artists. But more than that, for them to discover who they are and that intuitive creativity that you see comes to the forefront, whether it's confidence or courage or belief or, looking at the world from the lens of possibilities. This is what Gwen does. And it shows through not just in her art, but in the way that she helps others become empowered to fully express the genius in themselves. But what happens when we have these ideas, these dreams? What happens when we are there and we have a sense of something that we want to achieve or something big in the world, and then we don't? OMG. Gwen, we know what that's like, right?
Oh gosh, we sure do. And thank you so much, Pat. That was a wonderful intro, and I appreciate it. But we all have big dreams and we dream of them, but it's very difficult sometimes to come to fruition on that, because the thing is there's a really big word in the vocabulary, and it's how. 3 letters, and it stops us in our tracks. It's just ridiculous.
Those 3 letters, how.
We have these big dreams and we don't know how to get there.
We don't. And so, it's interesting. I was talking to you before the show, and I said, fascinating, my grandfather, and his fascination with the George Washington Bridge. And if you look at the distance between New Jersey and New York, right? Just look at the water, and you see that gap with the Hudson, right?
Right.
And there's Jersey and New York, and there's this space. And you think to yourself, now how the heck are we going to get across there other than a boat? And so it starts with an idea, and then a vision,
Exactly.
and then the enactment of that. And, it was fascinating to hear my grandfather talk about how things come to be when there's nothing there. And this is what we're talking about.
It is what we're talking about. And, and fear takes over, and, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this, and it's too big. Oh my gosh. okay, I want to write a book. Let's say I want to write a book. Well, that's huge. I mean, how do you write a book? Well, you do a lot of studying and you do all of this and you think about it and then you think, I don't have a clue. I just don't know if I can do that. Instead of breaking it down and making it into small little increments and saying, okay, I'm going to take step one. What can I do? What's my first step? Well, my first step would be, what do I want to write about? These little tiny increments. And then you can do that. It is literally eating the elephant one bite at a time, isn't it?
It is. And, the reason that this is such an important conversation is we forget about the history of things and we forget about the possibility of things. And the only reason I bring up my grandfather is because he worked on that bridge. Right.
Oh,
and so, how we forget about things? We think about things as if they've already been there. But in the history, the George Washington Bridge is relatively new. It's not even 100 years old or something, right?
Right.
And yet we forget about it. It's like we take it for granted. But this is also what happens to us when we think about how to fuel our dreams.
Oh, yes.
And so here we are. Can you imagine the many, many things in the world, and even yourself, Gwen? What would happen if those many, many things in the world that we literally take for granted were to stop dead before they even had a chance, right?
Right. I mean, little things. I don't know about you, but I love sticky notes. I love sticky notes and I use them all the time. They were just a little invention. Didn't start out big, but he was just playing. He was having fun. And he discovered this. Little things make a difference.
Mm.
Huge.
You work with people every day and you see the creative genius. But even so, it's so difficult as we start to see that part of ourselves withdraw. We start to see about our inactivity to go after our dreams. And I want to ask you about this. What is the enemy from your perspective? What is one of the enemy? I know we're going to talk about this later in the show, but what is the enemy of ideas? And I'm not even talking about when we cultivate the dream, but just the thing that would allow us to even entertain doing something different than what we're doing today. I'm not even talking about like a mega dream. I'm just talking about, oh my God, my life really sucks. Oh, why don't I do something different? We don't even go there.
Yeah, you're right. I think there are two things. I think there's fear. Particularly when we have a dream, okay, it's too big, I can't do it. So what happens is that, and I'll say this probably several times this morning, fear paralyzes us. So we don't do anything. Therefore, the second thing that's the big thing is action. We don't take action. Without action, a dream is just a dream. It isn't reality. Doesn't even come close to reality. It just stays out there in the ethers. I really cool, and I hope I can remember it. It says, because, when we have a dream and we don't do it, there's pain involved because we're not fulfilling our dream and we're afraid, so pain comes in. And so when pain pushes until vision pulls. And I just love that because our vision pulls us instead of us being pushed.
Here's something interesting. This is 50 year anniversary of Stonewall, New York, right?
Right.
I'm from New York. But I'm also from that generation and I'm also from that event. And anybody that knows anything about history has to know that things in history begin perhaps with a thought, but then an idea. and then an action, right? Because that's what you're going to talk about today. You're going to talk about how do we go from like this inclination. Maybe it's little a stirring up on the inside, right? Maybe it's little a burning desire for something on the inside. How do we take that burning desire and how do we allow for a creative genius to be enacted so that when we move along a pathway, Gwen, we seem to be realizing a new way of being, an idea, a dream, right? Isn't that what this is about? And this is what your life's work is, right?
It is exactly what my life's work is. And watching people stay stuck because, number one, we all have fear. Let's face it. We all have fear. We're afraid we're not going to be enough, do enough, have enough, whatever it is. And what if we're going to be laughed at? And when you are a painter, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have anything in me. And so they put paint on the paper or the canvas and so forth. My grandchild could do that, but they didn't. They've got to learn, adults have to learn that it takes time. It takes time to do anything. But the key here is breaking it down. What I say is, dream big, but think small. And the reason I say that is we have to break it down in little tiny increments. And the analogy is taking a stack of Legos and taking one and the one idea, then that's another Lego, and you build that from there. And that's what it takes. And sometimes it's just really hard to get that through because fear kind of gets people stuck.
Yeah. Look, I got to tell you, what we're talking about today is, and we're going to give you real life examples of how somebody's little teeny idea, how somebody's idea turned into a mega movement. Can you imagine? Think about this before we go to break. Can everybody imagine what would it be like if you had an idea to open up a cafe, and in that cafe, you wanted to invite some of the world's foremost artists, musicians of time, but you had no money, you didn't even have the space, but somehow you had an idea. How do we break it down so that you too can create? And if that idea turns into one of the world's most well-known places in New York City, in the 60s, the home of the Bob Dylans and the Richie Havens and the Bruce Springsteens, right? And the Jimi Hendrix, all of those people, this basement place that started with the floor made out of broken marble and today is an icon. That's what Gwen Fox does. That's what we're talking about today on the show. Are you guys ready to fuel your idea? Yeah, let's get at it. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Yeah, this is not just talking about a dream, but it's about cultivating that creative genius. Gwen Fox joining me here today. Before we get back to what happens to our dreams, look, you have a new workshop coming up. Tell us about the Mentors Workshop, what it is, and how people can find out more about it and hang out with you.
Workshop is very different than our normal workshop. You come, you bring your yucky paintings, you bring your good paintings, it's awesome. And you work in a way that's just for you. It's not like I'm going to teach you how to do things. But what happens is that I'm there to help you find your voice. I'm there to critique your work that you've done, to tell you which direction and how to get there, give you a step-by-step plan. This is I'm excited because I wish I had had this when I was just beginning. This is an awesome way. And so just go to my website, gwenfox.com, or you can give me a call. It's 575-751-0183.
Thank you. Look, let's have a true confession. I have a true confession. Benny, you probably have heard me talk about this. Once upon a time, I wanted to be a tattoo artist, right?
Oh my gosh, really?
Totally did. Totally did. And I've shared this story before that all is good. If you want to be a tattoo artist, you got to be able to have a tattoo. You understand? That is clearly not my path. And it wasn't my path because the minute that I got a tattoo and I did a tattoo test, I went into anaphylactic shock.
Oh, they hurt.
Right. So clearly that was not for me. But that doesn't mean I can't design tattoos, right? And even to this day, I've done some of that. But let's talk about what happens when we get in front of a roadblock. You know, what happens when our creativity wants to pull us forward? There's a basic need to grow, but we feel like we cannot do it. We are stuck. We are stuck in the crust.
Well, I'm going to give you a little idea here, and I think it's going to explain the point that you're making, because this is huge. I did a workshop once of which I didn't name, and I just told them to bring an object. And so they said, well, what's this about? It was an 8-week workshop. And so I said, just bring an object, and that's it. So they all come in. There's about, 15 of them. And I immediately told them, I said, we are going to do 40 paintings of this one object. Well, I've never seen artists do math so fast, but they figured out they had to do 5 paintings a week. Now, this was huge. Some people had never done 5 paintings in their entire life. And the reason I'm talking about this is that this was bigger than they had ever thought they could. And it paralyzed them literally. And they said, we can't do this. I said, oh, yes, I'm doing it with you. So while we did, here's what happened. And they could do anything they wanted. One gal did a martini glass. She did it as a quilt. She did 40 squares of the quilt. It was fabulous.
Wow.
But anyway, what we learned was, number one, they got up in front of the group and they didn't care if the paintings worked or not. They were part of the 5 that they had to do that day. Then we all hit a block at 20. We hit the wall. We said, okay, that's it. Well, we had 20 more to go. This stretched their mind because we were doing these one painting at a time to get to 40. You know, to think of 40, you can't do it. But we did it one painting at a time. Okay, the key here is that our best paintings happened from 20 to 40.
Wow.
It was huge. And they looked at each other and they said, oh my gosh, we would never have done this. We would have never grown this much. And we grew in 8 weeks. This is huge. This is huge. And they said, are you going to run this again? I said, no, because nobody will ever come. They said, yeah, you're right. We loved it, but I don't think we could do it again. And I, in a way that's sad, but no, they came, they put it in, and they grew. And they did 40 paintings, and they still talk about that to this day.
Yeah. But you see, isn't that the epitome of what it is we believe we cannot do? And you know what I love about this, Gwen? I got to tell you what I really love about this. And I think we should stop here and talk about this, because I think this is the thing that it took me a lot of decades. And I just want to say to everybody out there, please don't take as long as I did to discover this. Here's what I love about this. There's me sitting in my living room all by myself, contemplating how much I'm going to do or not do. Or I could work with somebody like you, right? And what I've discovered is I have a number of coaches and mentors I work with, because left alone, I'm no different than anybody out there. Yes, I'm Dr. Pat, but I got to tell you, I'm a human being. I'm just as good as anybody else when it comes to arguing for my limitations, right? We've got a partner, right? we don't have to do this alone, Gwen.
No, you don't have to do it alone. And I don't know of anybody that actually does, and gets to where they want to be. I mean, you didn't do it alone, did you?
No,
of course you didn't. And that's the beauty of this, is to have somebody there to guide you, to help you, hey, listen, I made all the mistakes. Why should you? Why should you make all these mistakes when I could say, no, you don't want to go that way. You want to go right. It makes such a big difference. Plus, the other thing is having someone to believe in you and tell you and show you the next step. Because you're thinking way down the way.
Yep.
And it's too far.
Yep. Gwen, I want to ask you, and I think this is really important. How did you learn this? Now, I want to ask you the question because you are beyond accomplished. You're an amazing artist. You're a fantastic teacher and mentor. You believe in people when people don't believe in themselves. And usually there is a story behind that, because I have a story about why I do what I do. And it's really not pretty. It has to do with some trials, tribulations, being told I had a progressively ill disease that I'd never walk again. I mean,
right.
What is it about you that gets you fired up today? You had to have moved beyond something to be out in the world the way you are in support of other people.
Okay, number one, I had the very best, most supportive parents ever.
Nice.
That was fabulous. And then I think I told this on the last podcast. I had the high school counselor say, don't bother to apply to college because you're not smart enough. And that pretty much dictated my world for a long time. And then I married a young man that told me, you can paint, just don't embarrass me.
Wow.
So I painted. And then all of a sudden I started, we lived in England, and I was the only person that got into to show with His Royal Highness Prince Philip, one of my paintings. And it was awesome. It was great. And all of a sudden I saw for the first time, oh my gosh, I can do this. I can do it. And so, of course, we divorced. And, but what the difference was, is that I started taking workshops and I realized there was something missing. And what I did was I decided that it was the mind creative connection, that bridge between art and spirituality, which was awesome. So I started studying and I started sharing all of this that I knew about the brain and creativity and how we think. That's the key. That is the key right there. We need that positive. We need that belief. We need that. We just need that so much in our creativity and in our life. Let's face it, everybody needs it. So
yeah, we do.
How we think is what we get.
Yeah. And that translates into our basic need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, right? What happens to our creativity, right? Exactly. What happens when we squash it, right? And what happens when we allow it to flourish? Because we really are at choice points every minute in our lives. We really are.
Yeah.
We're going to take
any choices. Yeah.
Right. Look, there are a lot of things that we think we don't have control over. But the one thing we do have control over, Gwen, and we're going to talk about this when we come back, we have control over how we respond to the world. We have control over the choices we make, even when we think we don't have them. But more importantly, if you take a page out of Viktor Frankl's book, we have the power to decide how we respond to the world, how we respond to life, and what are the energy. When we come back, we're going to talk about what happens when you become a thinkaholic. Think. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Gwen Fox is in the house. I'm Dr. Pat. Short break. We'll be right back. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Benny.
Yep, little T Swift.
Yeah, a little bit.
Good, Benny.
Thanks.
Benny, what happened to Missy Elliott? Come on.
What about her?
Where'd she go?
What do you mean? She's a big producer and stuff like that.
She is a big producer. And,
doing
they're
stuff.
playing her song in the commercial for some candy bar. So how cool is that?
Yeah, right? It's the best.
I know. Gwen Fox is in the house because this is Creative Voice Radio. Today's show was Think Small to Reach Big Dreams. Gwen, one more time, tell folks how they can find out more about you and also the next upcoming fabulous Mentors Workshop.
Oh, thank you. Now, you can always get in touch with me on my email, which is gwen@gwenfox.com. And the next workshop, I'm doing 5 workshops in Taos, and and we're really not calling them workshops. I keep calling them workshops, but it's a retreat. The reason it's a retreat is that you're in a beautiful setting with, I don't know about you guys, but I love flowers and I have a great garden. And it's the place that creativity just feeds creativity. And so the last workshop that I've just added is a mentors workshop, of which you come, you bring those yucky paintings, we find out what's wrong with them, and you get critiqued, you get everything that you really need. It's like having a coach for 5 full days. So I hope you can come. I would love to see your name on my email list.
Yeah. And that's actually what we were talking about earlier, because, there are some people that don't need the help of other people. I'm not one of them, and I don't know many people like that. When I was struggling in my life, I met Linda and I met Linda's parents. And, her mother and father literally took me in as if I was their daughter. And I learned from her dad. I learned from her mother. And, I got to tell you, people look at us now and they see us now. But what they don't see is, the times in our lives that perhaps we were broken. I mean, I was a kid that came off of a homeless bout that didn't even know how to set a table properly, right? Mm-hmm. Because that had nothing to do with partying in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got to tell you, I was a bit fearless. I was an activist and fearless. And let's talk about fearlessness and fear.
Okay.
Because I'm not fearless in every aspect of my life. And when we get afraid, what happens? And more importantly, how does our thinking fuel our fear?
Okay, I'm going to tell a little story on myself, which I hadn't planned on doing. But when I divorced my husband, I found out that I had $5 in the bank and I had nothing else. And so I decided, well, I've got to get a job. And I had lived overseas all this time, didn't have a resume and so forth. So I went to work at a truck stop as a waitress. And it was an absolute blast. And I loved it. I loved it because I just took a step by step. I didn't doubt myself and decided that if this is what I had to do in order to create, by George, I was going to do that. And you just have to keep thinking and going and not overthinking. I know we're going to talk about that, but just don't doubt yourself. You're pretty awesome as you are.
Yeah. Look, I love this. Before the break, I don't know what I said. What did I say? We were talking about thinking. And one of the things I'm really aware of is every form of thinking. And I have to say that I am not a thinker. I'm not a thinker. It's not my strong suit. But when it comes to worry, when it comes to anxiety, I am just like everybody else. I can go out there and become a thinkaholic, right? And that's my new term. I'm a thinkaholic. That's my new term. Hashtag for Facebook, hashtag thinkaholic. And, let's talk about the road or the pathway that think takes us. Now, we've heard the expression, Gwen, stinking thinking, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Stinking thinking is like a fish carcass that your cat put under your couch that you don't know is there, right? Your cat got the garbage, got the fish, put it under the couch, and you smell something, but you just can't figure out what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about thinking and how it really messes up our dreams.
Well, overthinking is a trap. And actually what it is, it's fear. And it's just going to stop us. But here's what happens when you overthink. Let's say that you're going to write a chapter in your book. So you're thinking about this chapter. And all of a sudden you say, well, I think I better write it. Well, I don't know about you guys, but when you sit down to write it, you've already thought everything and it's gone. You've overthought it. It's left you. And you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to write about? Because you've overthought it. And it stops you in your track. And the only way out of this is action. Action. Oh my gosh, everything always comes back to action. It just does. Because that's when you take ownership of your existence and your situation.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Ownership is huge.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I don't know if you know this, Gwen, but the show wasn't always called the Dr. Pat Show, right? 15 years ago, and actually we're putting material together because this is our 15th year celebration.
Woo! Right? Congratulations.
Yeah, it's like our 15th year celebration. And so when I think about that, I think about where I was. I was on my couch doing exactly what you described. All I could do was get up and walk my dog, or play with the neighbor's cat even, and the remote control.
Yeah.
The remote control, the TV and the remote control. I think I must have watched every Judge Judy rerun.
You were bored.
Oh my gosh.
You were really bored.
Judge Judy. And one day I said, oh my God, I feel so crusted over. And I said, I have just got to bust out of this crust. And crust busting was born.
Yes.
But I had to take action. And the only thing I could do, Gwen, was decide to get off the couch. Isn't that how it is sometimes?
That's one, though. That's step one. So that's important. Hey, when I was going through the divorce, I had two children in college. And of course, I got the bill for a semester, and there was no money. So, I sat down and did my 5 minutes of crying and then said, okay, I've got to take action. I've got to do something. Let's think this through. So I put up yard sale signs, and I had a huge yard sale. And guess what? I got the exact amount that was needed for the 2 semesters. And somebody said to me, well, what are you going to do the next time? I said, I don't know, but I'll think of something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about this. And I'm going to go ahead and skip the break because this really builds the bridge between, I don't know, but I'll do something. Man, I am so glad you brought that up. I didn't even think we were going to talk about it.
I didn't either.
The greatest discovery I made was the day that I woke up and said, I don't know what I don't know. And I still say that today.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
people look at me and said, you got to be kidding. You're like Dr. Pat. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but I'm telling you, I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
But I'm going to be alert enough to be aware for what's going to show up.
You
How
got it.
have you looked at that? Because people would say, Gwen, if you don't know, doesn't that feel out of control?
You do feel out of control. And say, well, what can I do? What can I do about the situation? And that's when I don't know. It's just it's a basic survival, I think. I mean, I'm just not going to let anything get me down. I'm a fighter, just like you. I mean, I've had to be a fighter. And it's actually good to be one. You know, because then you find out your strength. You find out exactly what you're made of. And what happened on the next semester? Guess what? The kids each got jobs. They got, they did their thing. I sold some paintings. I worked 5 jobs. You do what you can do. You do whatever it is. And it didn't always have to be that way. I knew that. So I stopped as things got better, I dropped a job, and it was awesome. Celebration, yay!
But this is part of the creative process. See, sometimes when we talk about creativity, let's just be really clear about this one thing. I know you know it, and I've said it myself. Anytime anybody has ever said to me, "Wow, you're so creative," I'm like, not really. Now, here's one other thing. Sometimes people say, Gwen, and this is important. They'll say, oh my gosh, you're such a dreamer. That's never going to work in the real world. And we have to talk about this for a minute.
Okay.
Because when people say that, and we believe it, as if I had performance review as an executive in the corporation, which on my performance review, I had 2 directors write, love her work, awesome, but we think she's on another planet. Now I know that's a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Right. But how do we defend against these naysayers that would say, Gwen, really? You're going to do that?
How do we defend? It's a matter, I think we get back to the mindset. It's so important to have that good mindset, the strong mindset that we know, we believe in ourselves. And trust me, that it's up and down. It's not like, oh, I'm always this way. No, I'm not. But I have my moments just like anybody else, but they're shorter. As you start getting stronger, it gets stronger, and they get shorter. So you win. It's a win.
It is a win. Gwen, let's talk a little bit about the busyness of the world and how busy, like busy as a bee, how that creates a facade.
Busyness is an excuse.
Oh.
Busyness, if we're busy, we don't have to think. If we're busy, we don't have to do. If we're busy, we don't have to fulfill what we know we came to do. We don't have time to do our creativity because we're doing this and we're going here, we're planning that. So if we're busy, then we feel like we're doing something, when in actuality, we're doing nothing. It's a tough one. I was there. I knew I was being busy for just busyness' sake at one time in my life. But I knew it, but I wasn't going to stop it because I didn't know, quote, how to get to where I wanted to be. So I stayed busy. Mm-hmm. It's a good way.
Yeah. Because I think if we act busy, it does a couple things for us. Yeah. One of the things it does is it sends a message to people around us that think that we're not busy. So it tells everybody, oh, look at me. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Right.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. I get the opposite. When I take an afternoon off to go play ping pong, people look at me like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? You're doing so much. How about your new technology? And I'm like, I even asked myself, well, maybe I did it yesterday. Oh my gosh, I'm tattletale on me now. I did it yesterday. And it was like, maybe I shouldn't go. I said it to Linda. I said, Linda, maybe I shouldn't go play today. Linda says, get in the car.
Hey, dude, we all need that.
Get in the car. But doesn't self-care fuel our creative genius?
I think if you don't, and the thing is that I always say, I literally work 7 days a week, but I don't consider painting working. It feeds me. And then I'll take a break and I'll go to the garden and I'll work in the garden. That feeds me. Now, if I had to have a job sitting at a computer, I would be like throwing up. I would not be able to handle it. So when you're doing what you love, that's great, because that can be creativity. That's feeding yourself. That's being that's eating ice cream. But yes, it fuels creativity. Going on a walk. I mean, it's ping pong. It's awesome.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have to be able to be all in.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that. And I know we've talked about that before. We have to be able to be all in.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not joking when I said that I have this past life fascination with tattooing. I really do. And I've been told it's a past life thing.
Always good to learn new things about you.
Right. So, of course, I watch it. Right. I'm fascinated. There's something about that. Have you ever met, and if you do, folks, trust me on this one. If you ever go to get a tattoo and your tattoo artist says anything like this, like, I'm not 100% sure. If you even hear that from a tattoo artist or a brain surgeon, run, don't walk.
Run. Yes, don't walk, run.
Right. Because this is what we're talking about today, is like making sure that our dreams get enacted. And I want to talk to you about this. I know we've got a few minutes left. How do we help people take that think small to reach big dreams step today, Gwen?
Okay, you slow down. You slow down, because when we go fast, it's like we're in our world today, we're going fast. We got to do this and we got to be here and we're going to get on Facebook. We got to do our Instagram. We got to do all of these wonderful things or we're not accepted. I mean, my gosh. So let's slow down. Let's take a deep, long breath and let's look at the little things, because you don't see that. If you're on the freeway, what do you see? Nothing. But if you're going slow on a side road, you see shadows, you see colors, you see shapes, you see all of these things. If we slow down, we're going to be able to see more and believe more. Take deep breaths. It's awesome. It works every single time.
Oh my gosh. Look, this is such an important message today. See, I know out there, everybody's got a dream. So Gwen, today at noon, I do a different kind of show right here on TTR and on Facebook, right?
Right.
But it's a different show for me. It's not this kind of show. Okay. And it's called Power Up Radio with Dr. Pat. And it's a show that I've never wanted to do, and yet I wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it, but I didn't think I should do it.
Why?
Exactly. Exactly. Why? Thank you. Exactly.
Let me interview you on this.
Exactly. And so here we are. But you see, a light bulb went on. And I think this is part of what you're saying. No matter where we are in our journey, there is a possibility to enact our dream. And I want to thank you for this today. Can you just, for us today, bring us back to the message deeply embedded in this for the importance of enacting our dream? And again, please let folks know how to find out more about you.
You came with a dream. You came to be who you are, and I know you hear this. Oh, guess what? When you're on your deathbed, trust me, you're not going to say, I wish I had put one more thing on Instagram. You're not going to say that, but you're going to say, I wish I had done blank, blank, blank. Do it. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it. And in order to get a hold of me, it's Gwen Fox at gwenfox.com or Gwen at gwenfox.com. That's my email. Or you can give me a call, 575-751-0183. I'd love to talk to you. So anyway, I hope to hear from some of you. And thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, the mentorship, look at the new workshop, Mentors Workshop, October 7th through 11th, right, Gwen?
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful setting, right?
Yes. Awesome. I even feed you.
Yeah. And so, listen, go find out about this. Get a hold of Gwen. It's a fabulous environment to try new things. I was really struck by this. It says, come bring your yucky paintings and your good paintings. And I have a sketch that I've been sitting on back in the day when I moved to Seattle that I did. It was a tattoo design, was to be for my back, Gwen. And
send it to me, baby, and I'll look at it.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to send it to you. Yep. And I'm telling you, I had 3 months of this kind of creativity and then it just stopped. But you know what? I'm creating here. So are all of you. Please get a hold of Gwen. And remember, we are here to help you fuel your dream, enact your dream, and live your dream. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned. Another hour coming up on Transformation Talk Radio.
Thank you for listening to Creative Voice Radio with Gwen Fox. Discover the creative genius within. Tune in monthly as Gwen joins Dr. Pat to make the connection between art and spirituality and inspire listeners to express their vision by saying yes. Yes, you're good enough. Yes, you're talented enough. Yes, you are an artist. Connect to the vision you'll share with the world by saying yes to the things you fear. Ignite your creative being, body, and soul with Creative Voice Radio. For more information about Gwen Fox or to listen to this show, visit gwenfox.com.